Speaking of love, there's a lot of love being spread this week, Jim. Between Warner Brothers Discovery and AEW, the big television rights renewal deal, the news came out earlier in the day, just before Dynamite. And of course, AEW Dynamite had a big show in front of a big crowd for Dynamite.
Where were they?
Pittsburgh.
They were in Pittsburgh. That's correct. I remembered that because Britt Baker had her hometown colors on. But what kind of audience did they draw for this 5th anniversary event on October 2nd? I did not get a crowdage or an estimate of the crowdage. Do you have any such knowledge as that?
I am right now looking for the crowdage. What was the name of the building they were in, Jim?
The crowdage arena in Pittsburgh. I don't know. It's not the Igloo anymore. It's not the old Civic Arena where the Crusher and Bruno wowed them. It's one of these newfangled arenas, probably named after some kind of hoity-toity fucking company or maybe some cheap fast food.
According to WrestleTix, at least as of Wednesday, they were at the Peterson Events Center. 4,425 tickets distributed.
Son of a gun for them these days. That's they shot almost one side of the building. What's that place hold? Do you have any idea? Because I've never heard of it. It's a new one.
I'm looking at the market-to-market comparisons. Hold on. I don't have that in front of me.
Well, so you came unprepared.
Yo, WrestleTix, you should always include the capacity. Actually, it does.
Yeah, actually, that
info. Yeah.
As I've mentioned, that is one of the things we had to write in our books. Vince insisted. You got the town, you've got the date of the last show, the date of the next show, and the building capacity. And or if it's set up for something different, you've got that / the building capacity.
The building capacity, at least for Pittsburgh Panthers men's basketball, 12,508.
Ouch. All right, well, they had 33% of a house then this week, as opposed to we were always knocking them for a quarter of a house.
Hey, give them credit. They may have been bigger than the average Dynamite audience, but they were also as quiet as them.
They were trying to fit in and act normal. No, there were moments of raging cheeriness in between moments of sitting there going, what the fuck is going on here? And let's get to it. Jesus Christ. They started with a cold open. I'm not sure this was, they'll either start out with here the fucking match is starting and we're going to start hitting each other with chairs, or they've got the plumber and his gang in the back in a warehouse somewhere with ominous music and speaking in riddles and or tongues while being shot in an artful way. I'm talking not shot, but it's not the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Shot video-wise, shot with a camera.
And at one point, there was a second camera all of a sudden.
Well, there's a second camera so they can get the sideways shot so that they can... You think they're doing this in one take? Well, they're like doing not only a promo where they're speaking in complete fucking riddles, but they're doing some kind of fucking Temptation, Eddie Kendricks, David Ruffin fucking choreography, stepping up and back to the camera. So you think they're doing that in one take? They got a second camera so they can fucking cut.
That's a very good point. I mean, everything is so rehearsed and it's definitely just all performance-based, but it's one thing when a wrestler does a promo and they're facing the camera or facing even slightly towards the camera like that weird Vince angle they used. But when you're watching them talk to the camera from the side and you realize they're talking to no one, it takes away the effect.
There's some drunk guy in Tyler, Texas going, who are they talking to? Move the camera around, man, so we can see who they're talking to. So anyway...
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
First of all, Marina Shafir did her promo in... forgive me, I don't remember what language she...
I was guessing Hungarian. Would it be Hungarian?
Where is she from?
I don't fucking know. It's not my week to goddamn do her biography. But that's the thing is, between Pac's accent and they're talking in the scripted verbiage that fits whatever the fuck's going on with this thing. So it's riddles, but between Pac's accent, I was like, what the fuck is he saying? And then Claudio, the one I understood, but he's talking, he basically said, Wheeler useless. Why didn't you come with us? Or I know you can call me or whatever the first thing we hear on their 5th anniversary is, where's Wheeler? And then Marina Schaefer came up and spoke Hungarian, or was it Peruvian? I don't fucking know.
And the whole time Moxley has his back turned to the camera because obviously he's spending a lot of time rehearsing his lines. He doesn't want us to see it. Yeah.
He's going over to his head, but also he's the star. So then he makes the grandiose turn in this art house project. And he tells Bryan Danielson that he's going to have the belt one way or the other, and there will be casualties. There will be casualties. He thinks he's goddamn
the viewers.
John Rambo.
They keep killing off the viewers. There will be casualties. Keep letting me do my shit.
They're dropping like flies. But basically, Moxley, who was some kind of quasi babyface with the whole BBC Combat Society, and they were quasi babyfaces. Then he went away for a while to do who knows what or not do who knows what.
To wrestle for New Japan, I think.
Well, but no, he was gone for longer than that from AEW TV, like 2 months. But he comes back quoting the Australian indie movies and being the neo-Nazi character that people have alerted us to. Yeah, Neo-Moxie.
Moxley. My name is Moxley, not Moxley.
Whatever. But the point is, he's talking about burying Bryan Danielson in his backyard on October the 12th. Danielson was part of the group. They never broke up until Moxley just came out and put a plastic bag over Danielson's head the other night, right? That's after Claudio had given him the upper flipper. So has he yet said, do we know? No, we don't know, because he hadn't said anything intelligible. Why do they suddenly hate this guy that was in their group for so long that they've now tried to kill him and he wants to bury him and there's going to be casualties along the way and the pay-per-view is next week and we don't even know why he's fucking mad? What the fuck sense does this make?
I don't think Claudio knows either. He's standing in the back trying to figure all this out. This is stuff that you come up with and the booker doesn't tell you no. And instead he feeds into it. The Moxley stuff is, we'll get to his actual wrestling a little bit later. But he may be my least favorite wrestler in the entire business.
Yeah.
And it's so ridiculous and over the top. And he comes back and every version of him is like the same. It's the same thing, but after watching a few more movies. And I don't, again, everyone's thinking this is leading to Shane McMahon. I'm sure we'll talk about that more later.
Well, if it is, then boy, howdy, would this be the worst ever angle or since the gobbledygooker leading up to a fucking payoff?
Well, we'll talk about their appearance again later on.
Anyway, and Nigel, by the way, was in for Taz, and they announced that Taz was in the building earlier, but was attacked by unknown assailants and was taken away to be treated and potentially has gone home to his doctors.
AKA, like me, he wanted to watch the Met game.
Well, I'm hoping that's what
that's
it was.
what that is, yeah.
But couldn't they just say he's on assignment? They have to make an angle about everything if this was, unless this was some kind of pre-planned. I don't.
Did you see the Hook promo later?
Well, yeah, kind of. I'll get you.
But it was because someone beat up his dad. Someone attacked Taz.
Well, yes.
So they say that later. Here they don't say why, but later they say he was attacked.
Well, yeah, but at some point throughout the fucking night, they said that he was attacked and Hook's going to get even, but who the all right, anyway.
Wouldn't it be funny if he shows up on Raw? No, it's not going to happen.
Oh, God. All right, the match that everybody's talking about. We're not going to give a blow-by-blow description of this. We don't have 36 hours. But Ricochet versus Osprey for the international title. And some people as you would predict, are like, oh, this is so great. This is a 5-star, 6-star, whatever the fuck. And some people, as you would predict, are like, what the fuck are they doing? And you can't fault these guys as athletes. They are tremendous athletic performers, right? They can do all of those things. They can do too many things, as a matter of fact. But first of all, the whole idea of this match happening, how long has Ricochet been here? Has it been 3 weeks in AEW?
No, it's been longer than that. It's been at least 2 months.
Okay, I don't know. I'll split the difference. He's been here for 6 weeks.
Which pay-per-view did he debuted at one of the pay-per-views, right? Was it in England?
I think so, in the big multi-fucking gauntlet
the
casino.
Gauntlet match.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the last week of August. Here we are, first week of October, 6 weeks. He's already wrestling Osprey for the international title. They're both baby faces nominally because the crowd likes and cheers both of them, even though Osprey had a heel manager and mostly teams up with other heels. And they have a history between each other that none of this audience has any idea of, except the really hardcore ones that we talked about on the last show that watch the Danielson and McGuinness matches in Ring of Honor, that watch these fucking guys wherever they were having these gymnastics meets that they had on the indies. And instead of establishing Ricochet and then beginning to tell a story of a rivalry with Osprey, and then establishing more of a rivalry here leading to a match, they just say, okay, everybody traded the tapes 7 years ago from fucking, Beirut, wherever they were, so let's just go ahead and have the match now. They're both baby faces. There's no build or issue on this programming besides them coming face to face and being snagged with each other last week or whatever. But because it's a banger of a match, they'll go ahead and give it to us now when it means nothing. And they announce it with, a week or two in advance, which is better than how they announced the world title match later on in the program. But do you see what I'm saying here? Is that what the fuck? Ricochet, the way you introduce anybody into a new company is bring them in, give them some wins on television, get them in a program with a guy that they can get the last word on, whether heel, babyface, whatever fits, and get over with, and then move into the main event mix. And instead, in 6 weeks, what are they doing here? That's my point, or one of my points.
I can't dispute anything you're saying. They rush a lot of things to have them happen. On the other hand, with AEW, if you're going to make it happen, you almost have to, because everyone always gets hurt. So if you have a chance, if you have a window, you kind of have to go for it.
Well, with the way that they're having these matches, I can understand why. Here's another thing. In the back, Don Fallis and Kyle Felcher are telling Osprey that they can't talk because they need to catch a plane. It's 8:02. The show just fucking started. The first match is going to the ring. Why did they come? Why are they there if they have to catch a fucking plane now? And there's our boy Take a Shit giving Osprey the dirty look, like, I don't like you. And again, who's the fucking heel? Why is Osprey the good-looking guy with the fucking good hair and the nice physique, and he's got a pleasant smile, even though the fucking garbledy fucking voice, but he's athletic and flashy. So he's just, I got to talk to you guys. Well, we don't, the top heel manager and some fucking blonde asshole that's in his group. We don't have time to talk to you now. We got to go catch a plane. And our other guy doesn't like you. And then, so everybody's confused. Who are the faces are teaming with heels? The faces have heel managers. The faces fight each other. The faces have rivalries that nobody has seen. They've just been told about. And apparently, due to the commentary, they've had 9 singles matches, and Osprey's ahead 5-4. Why did they have those matches? What is their issue? What did one turn on one another, or they were best friends and somebody took somebody's girl? Whose side are we supposed to be on? Who's in the right? They're just, again, they're great athletes. And they could work a hell of a contest if they could contain themselves from doing all the gymnastics and the cartwheels and the ridiculous over cooperation that takes it from a wrestling match to a floor routine. But Osprey is the guy. Ricochet can be very popular, but he's never going to be the guy in this company, especially if they're taking in $100-something million a year. They better never make Ricochet the guy in this company.
Did you hear him on the mic?
Yes.
Oof.
But Osprey can be the guy in this company. So, but we need to please establish some goddamn logic as to who is mad at who and who is on whose side and why these things take place. We don't care about bangers. You're going to have the same audience, dwindling audience that you've got now if all you're doing is bangers, because after a while, just a bang for the sake of it without any emotion involved gets old. Haven't you found that, Brian?
I saw some of their matches. You know, the famous one where the clips are going around at the time where they did the opening spot where they both do the exact same thing on the other side of the ropes and then meet in the middle and then do the same thing on the other side of the ropes and do the same flip at the same time, ending in the same pose. And there are people who love that stuff and they don't understand why we don't. Well, they did that stuff here and it wasn't as good as it was years ago.
Well, yeah, because they're fucking 7 or 8 years older or whatever.
And it's almost like a step back for Osprey in a sense, because, you know, he needs to work on he can't just do that forever. And they did that here. It was filled with spots that drive me crazy. But I guess because there's no feud and there's no problems between the two, just out of the friendship of competing against each other, it makes sense when the one guy turns around while the other guy's facing him still and lifts his hands in the air and gears
points
up. Yeah, like Kenny does, like Kenny Omega does. Osprey was doing that shit. So
I would kick the guy from behind in between the legs right in the fucking balls.
It looks ultra cooperative to people who are not wrestling fans. And the wrestling fans, it's split amongst people who think it looks ultra cooperative and not what we want in even our high-flying matches, and people who think it's the greatest thing ever. But again, you look at the crowds they get and you look at the reactions these bangers are getting. They have bangers with no emotion. And whether it was this, and it wasn't as bad here as it was later in the show, especially during that Danielson match, when the announcers have to start doing their golf commentary because the crowd is not making any noise whatsoever, there's a problem in what you're doing. No one has any passion or investment in anything you're doing. And they had this match, and
what are they going to break next in terms of furniture or whatever is what they're waiting on, or what flip is going to be.
There was no reason for this match
next.
Unless you're a fan who is expecting and wanting, you know, a high-flying match. There's nothing to want in this.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't have main event style matches on television anywhere, but I'm saying why take Osprey to 20 fucking minutes or however long this was to the limit and do everything and make him just one of the miscellaneous mid-card spot monkeys that, you know, populates everywhere instead of focusing on him as either the guy or your next guy or whatever the fuck. And as I said, you know, he's got a nice body, decent looking, nice hair, expressive face, horrible voice, but he needs a producer badly to teach him how to get over in America, which he would have gotten in the WWE and he'd be in front of a lot more people, but I don't know whether they would give him as much money in the schedule that he's got now, but his matches would be better because you could use the athleticism. I mean, in this match, he did 10 things that could be an angle that either could be done to him or he could do to somebody else that would carry you for a goddamn 6 months or a year on a professional television program. And they just pop up and continue to do shit. They did everything. Nobody could beat anybody with anything. And at one point, again, the psychology, because there is none, because they've been in Japan and they've been in England. Ricochet obviously chafed against the goddamn training that he got. Because he knew he was going to get a bunch of money to do his flippy shit while he still can with his friends here, because he's right back to doing it. But at one point, Osprey was the way he was working heel. He had Ricochet down and he was taunting him and he was bullying him. And Ricochet was selling. And then Osprey did a flip off the top where he got a Hurricane Rana, but he flipped and landed on his feet, and the crowd gave him a standing ovation. So now they're cheering the guy that was being the heel. But then 30 seconds later, he's flipping Ricochet the fucking double bird like, fuck you, so is he a heel again? And then the finish they did two finishes, but Osprey gave Ricochet the reverse Hurricane Rana, dropped him right on his feet, and Ricochet popped up without selling it and gave Osprey a reverse Hurricane Rana. And he popped up, and they basically just kept jumping up and doing the same move to each other without selling it. And then Osprey stood up and gave Ricochet the elbow and then fell on top of him where they were both down, except Ricochet had to kind of put his hand over the top of Osprey's neck. And the referee counted both men down, and it was a draw. Don't worry, that's not the end of it. But do you see what I'm saying? Why would you do that move and then just stand up and then just hop up in the air and give the same move to the other guy and drop him on his head and have him not sell it? Isn't that just telling everybody everything we're doing is complete bullshit?
See, what they do is impressive, but the idea that you jump up, there's a lot of just jumping up and doing something and then falling back down. Because I guess we're supposed to believe that you get a burst of energy that propels you to do a RKO on the apron or whatever the fuck happened here.
Every time somebody in a riot gets hit in the head with a goddamn baseball bat, that suddenly for the next 10 seconds they can whip anybody, is what you're saying.
It's less than 10 seconds. It's seemingly no matter what move is done to you, if you have the, I don't know what, the fighting spirit, whatever it is, you have 3 seconds to jump up and do something.
It sounds like they've had plenty of spirits. I don't know if they're fighting any of them. So then, of course, Tony Khan, by mental telepathy, sends Smiley Roberts, the ring announcer, the message that this match will continue. And I'm like, God damn it. And they get up and start trading forearms in the middle of the ring. But 30 seconds later, so they did a double pin finish and a restart, and 30 seconds later, Take a Shit jumps in and just starts beating up both of them. And it's a double disqualification, no contest or whatever. And he gave Osprey a weird looking knee that looked like maybe somebody wasn't ready for something, or it looked different than what they envisioned it might have looked like. I don't know what happened. And then he just rolled out and got the title belt. And what belt was on the line in this thing? There's so many of them I've forgotten.
This was the international?
Yes, international.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, he got that belt and stood over both of them. Analyze that finish for me, great Brian Last.
Well, Christopher Daniels was in some pre-tapes later on. I guess they didn't fly him in, because why would you do that? Tony Khan has announced this from the back that he's just going with it instead of having like the moment.
Well, because no, this is Tony's fucking... He wanted to make sure that everybody knew that he was saving this match. the match they all wanted to see because it was going to be a banger because they had one in a fucking hockey building in England 7 years ago. He wanted to make sure he was the one known for saving it. That's my opinion.
They did impressive stuff and the people were into them, but you get a lot of these moments of silence. And again, you're having matches just to have matches. The only reason for them to wrestle is that they wrestled each other in front of a pretty small, all things considered, audience 8 years ago or whatever. Before Ricochet was in WWE. Before Osprey had muscle. Like a long time ago. And they did the same moves that they did here. But in between those moves, it's just you sit there and you wait for the next move. I thought this entire show, but here, and especially in the Danielson Okada match, watching the fans watch the wrestling while reacting to nothing, and then all of a sudden a channel breakout like, this is awesome. And you're like, oh, where's that coming from? And then it goes away and everyone's still sitting there back into dead silence. There's no emotion. There's no, it's not, I hate Ricochet for any reason or I hate Will Osprey for any reason. It's no, let's just have a match where we're going to do a bunch of moves. So as a fan, you go into it knowing, oh, they're just going to have a match where they do a bunch of moves and kick out of everything.
And see, that's the problem that I have is that it just devalues everything for people who are trying to evoke some emotion and get over and do this stuff the right way when they're just out there playing video game characters and none of this hurts. They don't even sell the shit that really hurts enough that you would somewhat visibly sell it, for fuck's sake. But it's impossible for, it's impossible to follow some of this stuff because what are you going to do then? That's why, unfortunately, they're in the position they're in, is that they matriculated a pretty big section of the audience they had when they started because how do you follow what they've already done? They've set people on fire and blown them up in these video game gymnastics bullshit matches where nothing can hurt anybody. Then they don't believe when they really do something to one of the few people on the roster they care about. Then it is like, well, that was all. All they did was double pile drive him off the top rope through tables on the floor. Well, the girls did that last week. It just nullifies impact of anything, which makes all these people get hurt more often because they got to do more shit for these fucking people that expect if you're not crashing through furniture every 30 seconds, it's not a banger. Anyway.
On the bright side, at least it looks like Tony's going to do something with Takeshita.
Well, now we think maybe it looks like it. Let's see if it lasts 3 weeks. It doesn't even deserve its own review, but Mercedes Mone was introduced a highlight video of Dynamite on the occasion of the 5th anniversary. The greatest moments, and it was all her. And I just made the observation that she is the first personality that I can think of in wrestling that is totally unlikable, but not necessarily in a heel way, but just even Pockets. I hate his gimmick. It's fake and phony and bullshit. But he doesn't come off like he thinks that he is the goddamn biggest superstar in the world and still have a goddamn rotten fucking phony gimmick. She does. But is that, it's the classic heel characteristic, but the problem is you don't want to see anything she does because it's all so bad. So is this brilliant heel work or shitty heel work?
It's shitty wrestling work because it's so fake. It's fake past what's acceptable for wrestling fake. The way she talks, it's every promo is a dressing room mirror promo. She's doing it to herself in the mirror. The way she talks.
Now, wait a minute.
Stop it. Stop it. The way she talks, what she says,
The way she wears her hair.
Outside of the WWE ecosystem, and even that has kind of moved on from a lot of what she did when she was successful there. I'm sure she would still be over. I'm not saying that, but she's doing a Vince McMahon style women's wrestling character in terms of the hokiness and the gimmickiness of it. And it's not connecting with AEW fans.
Though this shit wouldn't connect on WWE television either. This wouldn't connect with anything, but nevertheless.
It's really bad. Like, it's cringy bad. You watch her and it's like, it's cringy bad. These promos. Camille just stands there.
But here, well, yeah, sooner or later she'll get to do something. But also, you see the quotes from Mercedes on, that she does interviews or on social media or whatever, where she speaks like that she has been some savior of women's wrestling and some trailblazer, and that she is able to do more now. It just talks like she's goddamn Madonna or what, and it's fucking ludicrous. Don't they hear the crickets, or are they drowned out by the piped in CEO and the music?
Give her credit, because there have been crickets. No one reacts. People don't like her. People boo her. And she still has the confidence to go out there and go, I'm your CEO.
Yeah.
Man, people don't give a fuck what you are.
Maybe conniving, egotistical, and overpushed.
I'll say it here, and I think it can apply to AEW more than WWE, because WWE has some really talented stars in the women's division. But how much more successful would AEW be, just ratings alone, if they didn't have a women's division? We know what drives off the viewers. We know what segments do that. Again, why do it if, why? Just why?
Yeah. You know what they did next? Renee Moxley Good is standing in the back with the Gun Boys, and they said 3 words, and Hangnail Page came in the back door and beat them both up with a chair. And that was it.
Did you see the first chair shot? It looks like he actually didn't hit him with the chair. He hit him with like his forearm.
Well, yeah, because he was coming in, instead of whacking him with it, he was coming in with the edge of it and just body checked him and, had the chair in his hands. But I mean, still, why can't these guys at least even get a chance to speak before somebody just beats the piss out of them and leaves them laying there and they get no retribution? In every segment, every time they're backstage, somebody will talk for 5 words and then get the shit kicked out of them, to the point where it's just ridiculous now and nobody cares, because it happens constantly. It's not out of the ordinary.
Here's the Guns, who you haven't seen on this show in weeks, and there go the Guns.
And there go the Guns. Okay, you mentioned segments that drive the viewers off. The Learning Tree with Chris Jericho, with Big Bill and Brian Keith and Mark Briscoe and Kyle O'Reilly and Rocky Romero and our little puppy Pockets. I just couldn't. And I saw, as I was fast forwarding, that Mark Briscoe was cutting a promo on Jericho, but the opportunity for Mark has been wasted, and this is so bad, and Jericho's disingenuous. Are you going to crucify me here because I didn't fucking watch this thing?
How could you not watch this?
Because it was rotten.
You didn't see a second of it. You went right past it.
As soon as I saw that it was Chris Jericho, I just wasn't in the fucking mood. I don't know how to apologize any further.
All right.
What happened?
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, all right, then I don't care. But I did watch Darby Allin in the woods on a bunch of junk cars at night wearing a pink furry housecoat, telling a story about 3 guys bullying him and spitting on him on a bus. And one of them had a switchblade, but he jumped him anyway. And I swear to God, he said, and it felt good that I did something about it. I was waiting for him to say, goddamn, when I got out of the hospital, he stabbed me 17 times. But Either that or then we all got sent to the principal's office. But Darby does a good promo, especially if you're a young person who can overlook that he's an idiot and, with himself physically, and you can find some admiration in the homelessness and etc. I see that young people are a lot more accepting of people being fucking homeless than my generation. And then talking about it on television, at least. I don't know. It might be something you have to experience. I'm not sure it's something you need to brag about years later. But he issued an open challenge for the pay-per-view. I'll fight anybody. And then he beat up a car with a rock. I go back and forth on Darby Allin, whether I think you dumb, stupid son of a bitch, if you were smarter and you could apply your talents and eliminate your stupidity, you wouldn't be a crippled 35-year-old. You'd still be making a lot of money. But then other times I think, oh, fuck it, let him goddamn knock his head off. What'd you think about this promo?
It was an interesting promo, an interesting story about people spitting at him. And he just got his ass kicked by Moxley. Now he just has an open challenge to anybody.
As long as they don't spit on him, because that's going to piss him off. That would be great if whoever he wrestles, they do the spot where they sit him down in front of him and they start spitting on top of his head. All right. Juice Robinson is back, ladies and gentlemen. And apparently he's a babyface now, I think. And I'm excited. And he's going to wrestle Hangnail Page. I'm still excited because at least Juice is back, right? We both like him, Brian. You're a fan. The way he talks, the way he looks, the way he wears his hair, whatever. So, maybe let's see a good match here. We got Juice. It's a jump start in the entrance. Juice Robinson pulls out a belt and starts whipping Page. Page takes it away from him and whips him. So now, I'm like, wait a minute, that's backwards. If Juice is the babyface. And then they fight into the arena. Page pulls several sections of railing loose and uses it on Juice. He pulls a table up, but they get misdirected from the table. They fight, in quotation marks, they fight up the stairs into the stands, throw some soft drinks in each other's faces, come back down the same way. Juice hits Page with some popcorn. They roll into the ring. And Aubrey Ed rings the bell to start the match, and they go to break. So one guy that I'd like to see have a match on this show, and this is what they do to it, and they're still doing this thing where, they can come out, they can start fighting anywhere in the building, they can go 15, 20 minutes with sledgehammers. No matter what happens, if they get in the ring, then we'll ring the bell. This is a rule that they have invented. That has never been a thing in wrestling before. So at that point, I said, well, fuck, now it's ruined for me, and I just got to fucking watch Hangnail, so I skipped ahead another 10 minutes. 10 minutes after they
This was long. This was long. This felt really long.
Yes, after that whole thing, 10 minutes. And finally, Page mule kicked our boy Juice in the balls and buckshot lariated him 1, 2, 3. Now there's more to come, but continue your thought on that match.
There's not much more I could say. Juice Robinson looked good. The little bits I watched, but it went a long time and the pace of it was just deadly and the crowd went silent. And so did I. So,
but more noise was made at the end.
It went way too long. How does it benefit anyone involved in this that it went that long? Whatever.
Well, they had an overrun. They snuck a 2.5-hour show in on us this time. So the point is, buckshot lariat 1, 2, 3. Well, the heel wins. But again, the heel, goddamn, is there ever a match here without goddamn afterbirth? Paige now is going to hang Juice Robinson, grabs his rope and throws him over the top rope with the rope around his neck. And here comes Light Switch Jay White. And he rolls in and beats up Hangnail Page. And they fight out into the arena. And he runs Paige through the table that they had set up in the match with Juice a while ago. So that was that.
You excited for the return of Jay White?
No. I wasn't excited for the debut of Jay White and everything else in between. Remember when he was doing those 20-minute fucking promos?
See, that's what I'm waiting for. Next week when we get the promo, I'm assuming it'll be next week. It'll be more of the, oh, I am the greatest, the man who is number one. Like just all talking about himself nonstop in that weird tone. Yeah.
Poor Juice can't get a break, can't get away from these people. And then Renee Moxley Good with Jungle Jack off in his Chester the Molester van. Are we expected to believe that he's driving that coast to coast and top to bottom, north to south, all across the country? Who is driving that? Are they putting the van on a truck, or has somebody got to drive that ugly, uncomfortable, fucking painted over bread truck to every city they go to? Because that's awful big to put on a fucking flatbed.
Especially for Jack Perry, who's just not doing it.
Well, yeah, why does he have to have this? This is an example of, he said it would be cool if I had this ugly van. And Tony Khan is spending a fortune so that this little idiot can pull up in an ugly van every week on TV for 10 seconds. So he walked down into the shot, and Shapoopy came up to him and had his phone translator, and his phone challenged Jungle Jack off to a pay-per-view match. And then he accepted and then ran back in behind the guy and ran his head into the van. Should he be running Shapoopy's head into a van with his history of brain surgeries?
The only bigger question, and why is Jack Perry getting this push that isn't really working out too well, is why would they book a feud with Shibata? Or is this just for the Wrestle Dream pay-per-view in a week?
Well, yes, because this is everybody's dream to see a guy without a brain wrestle a guy with brain damage.
Yeah, not good.
Speaking of both, brain damage or no brain, Bryan Danielson was in the back saying, "Fuck Jon Moxley." Of course, they bleeped it, and I will amen to that. But he cuts the promo on Moxley, but we still don't have any insight as to why Moxley did what he did. And then Danielson promoted Okada for the main event tonight. He's a great promo when he's fired up, but again, even worse with Danielson and Okada in the main event is with, they announced it on Twitter 5 days ago or whatever, but another banger, but this time with a guy that's too banged up to bang. We'll get there. But anyway, did you watch Britt Baker versus Serena Deeb?
A little bit. It's the first time we've seen Britt Baker since, I think, Wembley. It's her hometown, so I guess she has to be there. Serena Deeb, the little bits I watched, looked really good. Serena Deeb looked really good.
Serena can work. She's a Rip Rogers disciple. She can work. But of course,
you could believe in her in the ring,
Yes. And Britt Baker, the hometown girl, came out with the Pittsburgh towel on her back or whatever that was, and she won with the mandible claw. And then Serena gets heat on her every fucking match. Serena just gets back on her, and then here comes Queen Waiata and makes the save, and then everybody left. But did you see what somebody put out on Twitter, like from wrestling source of reporting or .com or some maybe even a completely phony site. It had to be a made up deal. But the reason for Britt Baker being suspended. Did you see
No,
this?
I don't know what you're talking about. No.
I saw that one person tweeted it. It was a made up, mocked up news headline. Britt Baker suspended. They said the reason because she was using nitrous oxide in the locker room, and that she was suspended for. Hey,
She would have been the most popular person in the locker
well,
room.
yeah, but
I'd be calling her up right now.
but again, because she's a dentist, she was able to get. Obviously, we are not saying that was in any way truthful. I thought it was funny and it's bullshit. But can you imagine that? Nitrous oxide, for one thing, is not a performance-enhancing drug, but it's not necessarily something you'd be sitting around a locker room doing before you go out to work either.
Although the famous story my dad's friends always said is that backstage, I think at the Nassau Coliseum, he said to Jerry Garcia one time, "Hey, Jerry, if your captain trips, why are we doing nitrous oxide?" Jerry didn't have an answer. Or if he did, I don't know what it is.
But anyway.
Her and Dr. Lano, I'm telling you, that's the big thing. Next time they go to the West Coast, they should have Lano come out as her manager for one night. And then he could do what he did at the Gordon Kazar show, get on the mic and just do running commentary of the match.
Yes, and he could have a big tank of nitrous oxide on his back.
Isn't there one already?
Yeah. So then, continuing in the female genre, Renee Moxley-Good was in the back with Maria May, and Willow came in, and they argued, and they fought, and they got pulled apart. It's the same. Every segment is just, it's like these kids have seen highlights of wrestling from years gone by and think that that's all that they ever did. And then,
well, who's there to coach them? Pepper Day?
A bunch of people that they aren't listening to that have been there in the past. I don't think Arn Anderson told them or taught them a lot of these things.
He's not there.
He ain't there. Cody wasn't probably teaching him a lot of things.
He's not
like
there
that.
either.
He's not there. William Regal probably would. Well, he's not there.
I don't know. Yeah, he's not there. He wanted to be closer to home.
I'm getting closer to my home.
The smartest guy in history. He went to AEW. He's like, I've made a huge mistake. What will I do to get out of this mistake? I will find a way out of this mistake.
I will polite my way in an English fashion out of this mistake. He polited himself right out of the company. Private Party beat two fat guys. Did you see the botched double team where the guy that can jump actually for the first time ever couldn't jump and missed the fucking guy and he dove off anyway? And then they're cutting a promo in the ring. They want to be the tag team champions and they call out the Hardley Boys. Let's do this thing right now. And then the Hardley Boys, of course, the spotlight on it. They are more and more with every passing week. Maddie and Nikki are like the South Park episode where the kids created their own wrestling federation, the WTF. They're sitting in.
That's their whole life.
Yeah, they're sitting in a spotlight, and as they're opened on, and then they start talking their way to the ring, and they tease a match, and then but we're on limited dates because they got to be inside. And then suddenly in the ring, Jungle Jackoff jumps Private Party, and then the Buckaroos roll in and start getting on them. But then music plays, and here comes Shapoopy. And all three of the heels bail because Shapoopy ran in, and the fans are sitting there like, what the fuck? And then Daniels comes out and makes a 6-man tag for Rampage. So the show that's not even going to exist any longer, that nobody watches to begin with, is dominating the promotional time on this television show when they're a week away from a pay-per-view.
Did you see Jack Perry's, I don't know if they were supposed to be punches. I don't know if they were supposed to be punches and they looked like forearms or if they were forearms that looked like shit. I'm not sure what it was, but
where he just was waving his arm in the general direction of the fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what they do now. And to be honest and be fair, they do it in the WWE too. They just, these guys cover up in a ball and somebody on top of them just waves their arm potentially with a closed fist somewhere in the area of their head and upper body. It's fucking ridiculous. I've never seen sloppiness like this. And we didn't have high definition television. So it's even worse now. That's why I talk about all these guys covered up. If you're all covered up and you're blocking and you got your hands over your face, then there is no target, and anything that's thrown at you looks like shit. If the guy holds you down and pins your arm and throws an unobstructed punch to the face, it's better than 10 windmills, and it gets the point across. I'm sorry, I digressed.
All episode, they were showing highlights of 5 years of Dynamite, the biggest moments, and they showed Private Party defeating the Young Bucks. I forget what they said. It was either episode 2 or episode 3, like early on, 5 years ago. They're revisiting their feud now, 5 years later. The Bucks don't matter. The Bucks just don't matter.
The Bucks don't matter, and Private Party's not as over as they were then.
Yeah, the only thing that can help Private Party right now is leaving AEW and hoping WWE would be looking at them. Again, back to this tag team division, this awful tag team division. They booked it into the ground, even with some talent. And again, the Bucks, they get that go-home heat reaction from a lot of people as soon as they come out. More and more of the AEW fans, too. It's not about bangers. It's about more than that.
But it doesn't have to be now, because along with Tony's dad's bottomless pocket, they're getting paid to just do what they're doing. So there's no incentive to get better. That's the problem now, is they've been somewhat validated. There's no incentive to get better because they're guaranteed whatever. I mean, Tony will still spend more money than they take in somehow, but they're guaranteed a shitload of money to just do whatever the fuck they're doing.
And the crowds are getting smaller and smaller. The crowds are, going to be where they were when they were on the indies, when they were main eventing for Ring of Honor with Sinclair money behind them. And they had plenty of time to they had a lot of say in everything they've done. They had plenty of time to try to do anything to drum up interest in anything. And instead they were left to do their best ideas and look at the state of the tag team division, look at the state of AEW they're making it about 5 years ago, we started this thing. There'd be no AEW without us. AEW would be better without you.
Yes.
Look at the landscape.
I'm sorry, but I have a feeling that Cody would have probably pushed this thing through even if there weren't any buckaroos around. We've seen who the go-getter is, and he went and got it. But anyway, one more Renee Moxley good with MVP, who started speaking, and Nana came in pissed off and said, I used to be a wrestler, at least they're letting him say something. But then MVP told Nana, you're going to have to deal with the complaint department. And the camera widens out, and there's Shelton Benjamin standing behind Nana. Again, what did he goddamn beamed in on the, beam me up, Scotty. Nana wouldn't have seen Shelton Benjamin standing anywhere around there. But again, I love Shelton, and I'm glad Shelton is making, I'm sure, a lot of money, and we might be able to see him on television every once in a while. But this is the way that you debut him, in a fucking pre-tape late in the show where the camera widens out and he's standing there. Is that a big fucking reveal? And then Shelton drank Nana's coffee and stole his coffee cup. And that was it. I'm glad they're putting the Hurt Business together, but don't we need to make it a little grander than, and here's another backstage segment where we'll introduce a guy that's been a star in the business for 20 years.
Well, that's the thing. Shouldn't any of these segments be in front of the live crowd? And if you say Shelton Benjamin couldn't be there this night because, for whatever reason, so they had to pre-tape it, then do it another week when he could be there.
Do it next week.
Yeah.
Do it next week. Where are they pre-taping these fucking things anyway? God damn it.
Well, Jim, with all the buzz about the Hurt Business being now on TV, reuniting in AEW. They're all gigantic amongst the smaller wrestlers there. You may want to get on the phone and call somebody and say, hey, MVP is back on TV. They're going to be in the MVP arena at some point. MVP is at the MVP. The Hurt Business is on TV. And I got a good phone plan with Mint Mobile.
Well, you've said it all. Now, I'll tell you what, the phone lines were burning up, the party lines, people were listening in. One ringy-dingy, two ringy-dingy, everybody saying MVP is in AEW, and Shelton Benjamin is back with MVP, and Bobby Lashley can't be far behind. They were all burning up the phone lines, but it didn't cost people a lot of money because they had the premium wireless plan from Mint Mobile starting at $15 a month. And I'll tell you what, that you can, as a matter of fact, you can get 3 months for only $45. That's even cheaper than $15 a month or thereabouts, because Mint Mobile, see, they're cutting through all the middleman and they're giving you proper service. You know, Ryan Reynolds started this thing, you know. I saw him the other day up on top of a telephone pole. He was stringing wires himself.
No, that's not how this works at all.
See, no, they're eliminating a lot of the overhead by doing a lot of the work themselves. They're entrepreneurial Americans.
Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, he was up there, he was stringing line. He was climbing that pole like he'd been working for the telephone company for 25 years. You should have seen him. And that's the way that they can pass the savings on to the consumer. Oh, yeah, he's out there, he's working early in the morning, works the early shift, 6 to 3. So that way he's got the evenings off to make movies and TV shows. But folks, if you want to switch your high-priced plan that you've got on your telephone where they're just raking you over the coals, over to Mint Mobile, it's easy. Like we said, $15 a month when you get the 3-month plan. And it comes with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, and the nation's largest 5G network. Ryan put 3 of those G's in himself. You can keep your own phone. You can keep your own phone number. You can keep your hands in your pockets and your ideas to yourself too there, fella. But you can ditch the overpriced wireless that you might have now with Mint Mobile's deal. 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. And Brian, of course, I was erroneous when I earlier said that also the additional business they had started was Mobile Mint, where they had a truck outfitted with
this is
minting equipment.
You did say this.
And they'd come to your home and they would mint you your own money.
Ridiculous.
And, well, unfortunately, I didn't get the updated memo because that idea, that concept didn't get out of development because it was not clinically validated when they did the clinic. So now what they've got is Mobile Mint, where they have a truck outfitted with every kind of mint. You got breath mints and peppermints. If you want some peppermint schnapps, they got that. Anything with some mintiness to it. The green stuff that you mush up and put down on the bottom of the Moscow mules, all kinds of mint, and they drive that truck around to your neighborhood, delivering mints in a mobile fashion.
Why now? Why? No, they don't. But they have great phone plans. There's no trucks.
You sound like one of the Bowery Boys. Well, folks, right now, if you want to save some money and have your breath be minty fresh, go to mintmobile.com. No, David Gorsey. Mintmobile.com.
Sunshine Sammy?
/JCE. What was his father's name?
Leo
Gorsey's father's name. Yeah,
he was in a bunch of movies.
He became the sweet Louis Sweet Shop owner.
Yeah.
I
don't remember.
Mint Mobile. They're still here. Mintmobile.com /JCE. You can cut your wireless phone bill to $15 a month when you get the new 3-month premium wireless plan. Mintmobile.com /JCE. And of course, they don't trust you, so a $45 upfront payment is required, which is equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Don't try any of your shenanigans. Speed slower above 40 GB on the unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for all the details and ask for some peppermint schnapps.
Well, see all the details and use the promo code with Mint Mobile.
Yes.
And now back to Dynamite.
Well, now it's time for the main event, isn't it? We've been waiting a long time. As a matter of fact, the bell for the main event to start rang at 6 minutes till 10 o'clock. They said, we've got a significant overrun for you tonight. We've already gone through it. Why can't they just schedule the shit? I mean, even cousin Brian Alvarez is getting frustrated because he's got the apparatus that you can't easily set, and he's going out of his mind trying to keep up with these things.
Well, the other thing is, except for the rare week, like last week, I think, with Moxley versus Darby, it loses viewers. So if you're doing something that doesn't benefit the programs, the matches, the feuds, the viewership goes away. You put main event stuff at the end of the show, no one sees it. There's no reason for it, yet they double, triple down on it. 30 minutes this week.
Well, and at least, we'll get to that in a second, but it was the world title versus the, the Intercontinental title. No, the international title is Osprey.
Continental.
Okay, WWE has the Intercontinental title, AEW has the international title and the Continental title. So, am I wrong? Did they not just announce this on Twitter like about 4 or 5 days before the show?
I saw this on Twitter because MJF retweeted it, and then it got retweeted, people copied it and quoted it to us, where he couldn't understand the stipulation. That was the first time I heard of the match or the stipulation.
Well, it was a double title match. The world title was on the line versus the Continental title, but the Continental title was only on the line for the first 20 minutes of the match. Now, again, we know that Tony has liked to watch old wrestling tapes, and, there's some of the other guys that go back and they watch, but they don't get the old wrestling. The deal they were doing here originated, I believe, in the Carolinas territory. It's, I think, although you may be able to correct me because other territories may have done this. But the deal was in the Mid-Atlantic territory, the television title had a time limit of 20 minutes on championship matches. If you were the TV champion and you defended the title on TV, it was a 20-minute time limit because it's an hour fucking program in total. And so that was more befitting a television match, right? So then, if let's say Ricky Steamboat is the Mid-Atlantic TV champion and he's in a program against his ex-tag team partner, number one Paul Jones, who's the U.S. champion, then if they had a match in the arenas, the TV, or even if the other guy wasn't a champion and just the TV champion had a match, a special arena match, house show match where there was some issue, the TV title would be on the line for the first 20 minutes only in a match with an hour time limit or whatever the case, because that was the time limit of all TV title matches. So it made sense. And that way they could work the deal where the TV champion got beat in the house show match, but it took 23 minutes. So he would still be the TV champion. And if it had been on television, he wouldn't have been beaten, etc. Simple but effective. But there's no reason for the Continental title to be on the line for the first 20 minutes only, because they have not established that the time limit for every Continental title match is 20 minutes. So he just did a stipulation that he's heard of in the past without bothering to figure out why the fuck that it was done that way to begin with. Did I lose anybody or did I explain that properly?
I think you explained it as good as you can.
So, I mean, there was that's where it was done and why it was done and why it made sense to do it there. But it didn't make sense to do it here. He just wanted to have these guys wrestle and be able to have a winner without switching a belt. So, And we already know that it's going over 20 minutes due to the stipulation. They start at 6 minutes till. And again, Danielson is a very talented guy, and he gets more than most people out of other people. But this fucking Japanese certified public accountant, he is rotten. He is broken down. No, this went forever. At the top of 10 o'clock, they were in break. So anybody was switching over would see picture in picture at best. And then on my local cable, it went to full commercial. And then they went on and on. And by 10:15 p.m., the Continental title was off the line. And at that point, Okada gave Danielson a tombstone pile driver on a chair on the floor.
No, he didn't.
What?
If you watched it, his head didn't come anywhere near the chair, and the camera was right on it, so you couldn't miss it.
Okay, but the point being, it wasn't for lack of trying. All of his shit looks bad, but it was a tombstone pile driver on a chair on the floor for a break spot. To where by the time the 3-minute break was over with, the guy that had to retire because of concussions and needs neck surgery, that just got tombstone pile driven on a chair on the floor, was back beating the shit out of the other guy. And that was 26 minutes into this fucking thing. So, I mean, did you see? I couldn't watch all of it. I was trying to see because they were laying around for so long, but was there anything, again, I've tried to watch that the multi-million-dollar acquisition of Kazuchika Okada, he moves like a ruptured moose. Anything? Well, did you see anything?
I hated this match, and quite frankly, it's not just Okada. Bryan Danielson has had some really great matches, but he also wrestles a really boring, slow-paced, for no logical reason style. And even when you want to say he's too hurt to throw the kick, so he has to take 5 seconds to do it, everything took forever. And then they were on the floor for forever, and the referee did nothing. He would check on them. And the crowd was dead, and the crowd was dead, and the crowd was dead.
Need me to bring you anything?
And the crowd was dead. I hated this match. I thought it was terrible. Okada has not looked good in AEW. This was the worst of Danielson in my eyes. Just a slow match with the things that you see in every other match, but it took forever to me. It was a long match that did not serve anyone's best interest being a long match.
Well, and then, as I mentioned, after the tombstone pile drivers and the other type of things, Danielson won with a backslide. And then here comes the plumber and his group of pipe fitters. And I don't know. Moxley said a bunch of shit to him that not just me, but nobody understands what he's talking about. I assume there's going to be some grand reveal of what the fuck his deal is or what's going on here. But he kept saying, it's not about me. I wish it wasn't about you. Apparently this is all about you. But it's not about me. I didn't want this. And whatever the fuck, but they're holding Danielson down while Moxley is verbally doing whatever, chastising him. And they're going to fuck him up as the threat. And then here comes our boy Wheeler. Wheeler, useless, hits the ring with a hammer in his hand, and all 4 of them bailed. And I mean, this is, again, well, hold on, all 4 of them bailed. And yes, it's a guy with a hammer, but he's the size of a 12-year-old with a hammer. But then Moxley just gets back in the ring and is standing there looking at him. And there's Wheeler with the hammer. He's holding it, and he's exhibiting the excitement of a cabbage as he is conflicted And Moxley just standing there, not even really daring him, just staring at him. And he won't do anything. And he's holding the hammer and he's looking at the hammer like, should I hit this guy with the hammer? And then finally,
he didn't sell for a hammer.
No, Moxley's just standing there, but the other guy is not making any motion like he's going to hit him. Why did he bring the fucking hammer in there if he wasn't prepared to hit some of these motherfuckers with a hammer?
He chased the four of them out of the ring with the hammer and then just watched as Moxley walked right back into the
ring. And then why are we supposed to support this babyface that will let the heel just stand there while the babyface has a hammer in his hand and is kowtowed into immobility and won't do anything because the heel is so fearsome standing there. And then finally Danielson had to tackle Moxley. And then Claudio glommed Wheeler and he dropped the hammer. So now they've neutralized Wheeler. They're back on fucking Danielson. But then the plumber gets out and Marina Schaefer, because she's his bodyguard, rolls out with him. And so it's a four-way with Danielson and Wheeler against Pac and Claudio. And then the heels bail out. And then I thought, thank God that's over. And then Wheeler gets the microphone. And he says in that whiny, pleading, plaintive voice, I'm sick and tired of you two treating me like a child. And then my DVR froze because I recorded the program after AEW Dynamite, and these son of a bitches ran over the fucking overrun. But basically, he's tired of them treating him like a child, even though he's the size of one. And Brian, did you hear anything after? Did you tape 2 programs after Dynamite so you could see everything?
I don't know why, but I got the hour after Dynamite recorded on my DVR. And him and Danielson are going to team up and challenge the not Blackpool. I don't know what they are. They don't have a name. They do their promos and riddles. It was pointed out here, and it's true. You know, this is never about me. Okay, what's it about? just tell me now. You got me down. Your friends are holding me. Why wait? Why delay this any longer?
Well, just say it, man. Just say it.
To my earlier question, because enough people keep talking about it, we're going to keep asking about it. If this is an angle to bring Shane McMahon to AEW, is this the way you would do it?
Good. What? No, how did they're really going through massive leaps and bounds of twisted logic to try to get this. What the fuck would Shane McMahon, why would he deal with this group of half-over misfits and this fucking bald-headed dimwit that runs the thing if he was going to come in and try to take over AEW? Because that would be the only reason to come in and do anything is try to take over AEW. Wouldn't you be up at the upper echelon? And the first thing that would happen is Don Fallis's guys would be signed away and some off-screen entity was assembling people that hadn't been together before into some group for some nefarious purpose, but they'd all be main event guys. And they might even be asking, Why am I being sent money and asked to fucking talk to you about teaming up to one of their enemies? Why the fuck is this? Or some shit, but not just this idiot coming in and speaking in riddles about bad independent movies from foreign countries.
Here's the problem. There's now people expecting Shane McMahon. So let's say it's not Shane McMahon. Who's this mystical leader that Jon Moxley's talking about?
Well, it's not that. Is he even talking about a mystical leader? When he says it's not about me, I wanted something bigger. Is he talking about people let him down, but let the concept down, let the thing that they had planned down, and now he has to get even? Danielson wasn't on board. Why are they mad at Danielson? Didn't Shane McMahon say, hey, Brian, you're in the group. I'd like you to come aboard too? What sense does any of this make?
What about Dabbo-Kato?
He would show up ahead of the Shane as the advanced guard.
See, there's the biggest argument for Shane being involved with this. Wasn't Shane the mastermind of Raw Underground?
Yes.
Come on. It's the same thing. Moxley is the walking embodiment of Raw Underground.
Well, if anybody will put Moxley underground, I will support it.
Maybe it'll be Dabbo-Kato. See, that's all when I think of Raw Underground, I just think of the look of it. I don't remember anyone doing anything other than Shane kind of jumping around, yelling, Dabbo-Kato, Dabbo-Kato.
Yes, and boom, and boy, the booyah. Hey, remember the booyah thing? When they were trying to make Shane an announcer, remember this was late 98, early 99. I was still in Connecticut. And they made him the announcer, I think, of Sunday Night Heat. And they had me not only do commentary with him several times on air, but I was going down on like Sundays off or Saturdays off or when we didn't have to travel or whatever. I'd have to drive an hour to the studio and do 2 or 3 hours of practice commentary with Shane that nobody would ever hear because Jim Ross had too much stroke to be made to do it. And I can't remember. Honestly, they wanted a color guy with him rather than, and Michael Cole, Kevin Dunn had him too much favoritism, so he didn't have to do it. And Kevin Kelly was a play-by-play guy. So I ended up with doing color with Shane for practice. And it was brutal because he'd never announced before and he thought he was a personality or should be. And I love Shane and I've talked nice about Shane, but he was a rotten fucking announcer. And he was always going, and booyah, booyah. I said, what is booyah? That's a shotgun blast. Booyah? Oh, it was brutal. Brutal booyah. A little dab will do me.
Well, if he comes to AEW, they'll certainly boo him. But we shall see. That was AEW Dynamite.
Yes, it certainly was.
From Pittsburgh.
It certainly was the pits.
Jim, AEW just announced their new deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. Why don't we talk about the ratings that were for the night of the announcement?
I forgot about them ratings. What in the world went on in the real world? Not how much money they're getting paid, but how many people are actually watching.
AEW Dynamite, Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, 8 to 10:31 p.m. On average, watched by 680,000 viewers.
Ouch! They went down on their 5th anniversary? Well, you know, a lot of people have done that, I guess. So I guess I shouldn't.
Come on now. Well, you know what? Honestly, they promoted Grand Slam a lot better than they did this, don't you think?
Well, that's true, because it was a Grand Slam, whereas this was only apparently a blowjob.
Well, these blowjob numbers were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. The Pac, Claudio Castagnoli, Marina Shafir, John Moxley promo. Please get a stable name. Will Osprey versus Ricochet starts. 801,000 viewers.
Okay, and one would think that if any match would keep the AEW audience placated, satisfied, and warm and fuzzy, it would be this one. So I wouldn't think they would lose too many viewers, but at the same time, with that overall average and starting at 800,000, by the end of the program, it's not looking too rosy. So go ahead.
Quarter 2, 8:15 to 8:30 p.m. Will Osprey versus Ricochet continued with picture-in-picture ads. The post-match with Takeshita. The Mercedes Mone Camille backstage promo. 743,000 viewers.
Okay, so 58,000 people did not like all of that banger. That's more than I thought would have left in this situation. But it does get repetitive after a while.
And so far, and the trend will continue at least in the next quarter, it's in line with the 90-day trend that WrestleNomics has compiled here. Quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. starts with an ad break. The Guns getting attacked by Adam Page. The Learning Tree with Mark Briscoe. 702,000 viewers.
Oh. So that followed, you had Mercedes, then you've got, well, the thing with the guns was meaningless because it was a minute or less. And then Jericho appears. You've lost now 99,000 people from the start of the program and another 41,000 from the previous 15 minutes.
And as I said to you before, that's in line with the 90-day trend. The 90-day trend is losing 100,000 viewers within the first 2 quarters.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m., the Darby Allin promo and the start of Juice Robinson versus Hangman Adam Page with picture-in-picture, 704,000 viewers.
Okay, that's just people coming back from the fridge or the bathroom, I guess. At this point, it's almost the same.
From the learning tree. Quarter 5, the big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m., the continuation of the Hangman versus the Juice, the post-match with Jay Ping Pong White, the Jack Perry Shibata backstage angle, and another ad break, 670,000 viewers.
Oh, good Lord. So that's 34,000 at the top of the hour. They didn't pick up anybody.
Well, again, the Met game was on. Maybe all of a sudden everyone's watching the Mets. Quarter 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. Serena Deeb versus Britt Baker with picture-in-picture, and the post-match with Queen Aminata, 669,000 viewers.
Okay, so they're pretty flat there, but everybody in Pittsburgh was watching. So they've gone 702, 704, 670, 669. Whenever they drop, at least those people are sticking around for 2 quarters.
Well, we go now to quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The Hook backstage promo, the Christian Cage promo, an ad break, the Mariah May Willow Nightingale backstage angle, Private Party versus Iron Savages, the post-match with the Elite Shibata, Christopher Daniels, Jack Perry, 708,000 viewers.
What? So 30 with 30, where did they pick up 39,000 people on that? That's odd.
That's something there. I don't know what, but we go now to quarter 8. I remind you, there's a long overrun, so we got a ways to go.
There's 2 overruns.
Technically 3 quarters here, actually, it goes into 9:45 to 10 p.m. The MVP Prince Nana Shelton Benjamin debut backstage angle, an ad break, and the start of Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada with picture-in-picture, 642,000 viewers.
What?
Overrun.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on here. We went from 660. What was in quarter 7 again?
Quarter 7 was Hook's backstage promo, Christian Cage's backstage promo, or tape promo, an ad break, Mariah May and Willow Nightingale's backstage angle, Private Party versus the Iron Savages, and then the post-match with the Elite.
That quarter hour went from 669 to 708, and as soon as that quarter was over with, Danielson and Okada start in the main event, and they lose 66,000 people. You think there was a power surge on the Nielsen box in quarter 7?
Yeah, it came from Cucamonga. People saw that and tuned out.
Whew.
Well, let's go to the overrun. 10 to 10:15 p.m., Danielson versus Okada, 596,000 viewers.
Oh, good heavens.
10:15 to 10:30 p.m., the continuation of Danielson versus Okada with picture-in-picture, the post-match with Moxley, Claudio Pac, Marina Shafir, Wheeler Yuta, and The Hammer, 574,000 viewers.
Oh, good God.
1 minute overrun. 10:30 to 10:31 p.m., 561,000 viewers.
Jesus Christ, so the longer that thing went, the more they lost.
So what value does the overrun have? And it's happened to Danielson a bunch over the last year.
They went from 642 to 561 from the start to the finish of the thing.
Okada's not over with anyone except the most diehard AEW fans. Danielson's not as valuable as he once was. There was a time a few years ago, 5 years ago, in fact, if AEW had had Danielson versus CM Punk, it would have really meant something. Punk means more today. Danielson doesn't. Yeah. Danielson's value has been devalued in AEW. He's happy, so you can't take that away from him. And he's getting to do what he wants. But the overall value to the average wrestling fan, to the wrestling fans that watch wrestling and choose what to watch or not watch, it isn't there anymore.
So they started with 801,000, and over the course of the thing, the very long thing, they lost 240,000 viewers. That means 240, 480, 720. They lost 30% or high 20s% of the audience.
And by the way, for the key demo, just to point this out, they started 333, but that's skewed a little high from the previous show. 302, 279, 275, 267, 266, 278, 272. So they're consistent. And then here's the Danielson Okada match. 240, 233, 226. So even those fans were tuning out. If they had really got an hour, they would have really tested some limit. You know, they're next week, I think they're on Tuesday, Title Tuesday. That may end up being the lowest rated AEW Dynamite ever.
Well, yeah, and it's not fair that, I'm sure it'll be rotten because all of their shows are rotten, but it's not fair to hold that against them if they're being switched over on a different night.
If that was Title Tuesday, what was this? How many title matches were on this show?
Oh, no, there was a girls' match that wasn't for a belt on this one.
That's
so
true.
They'll close that loophole up next week.
But there's AEW Dynamite off their big renewal. Any final thoughts about the numbers here?
I'm not surprised because, Jesus, everything that happened in the previous segment and it's going to happen in the following segment. There's nothing special anymore you need to sit back and wait for because constantly the same shit happens. So you can afford to drift off to sleep after you've seen some of it.